Hi everyone, it is that time of year again. It is the Sephora sale, and this is going to be my makeup video with all of my makeup recommendations in every single category, from base to cheeks to eyes to lips, as well as tools. My next Sephora video will have skincare, hair care, body, and fragrance, so look out for that one. But I wanted to get this one up first just because there's a ton of new releases, things I'm really excited about. I will have all of the Sephora sale information here, just so that I don't have to go through all of the details with you, but you know the deal. Rouge gets access first, and then VIB and insiders. And then the Sephora collection is 30% off during the entire duration of the sale. This is totally unsponsored, so these are all things that I actually use, actually love. I have a lot of new things here just because there have been so many recent launches, but I also have old favorites that you'll recognize if you've watched any of my videos. So let's get into it. This is always a long one. I have all of the timestamps as well as links in the description box below if you want to fast forward or go to any specific section. Let's start with base makeup. I'm not a big primer person, but if I do like a primer, I like something that's going to give me a little bit of glow. And the In Beauty Project Face Glaze is such a fantastic product because not only does it give you a little bit of pearly glow, it also gives you a slight grippiness under your foundation as well. It's not going to be anything like super dramatic. It's not like Charlotte Tilbury Flawless Filter or anything like that. It comes out as this gorgeous gel cream, and it gives you a slight pearliness that looks stunning across the tops of your cheekbones, but it's not like glittery by any means. It doesn't even really look like you're wearing makeup. It kind of just looks like you've applied skincare. This texture makes it great for all skin types, whether you have oily or dry skin. It works for oily skin because it is so thin and because it does set down. I don't really like a pore filling, mattifying primer, that sort of thing usually. So if I am reaching for a primer, this is kind of the only one that I do regularly reach for. They also do have a bronze version if you have a deeper skin tone or you're looking for something to warm up the complexion. The texture is the same. Looks like that, and it just gives you a warmer, bronzy sort of look. So that's the original, that's the bronze. They're both really, really stunning, and you could use the bronze shade as a bronzer. So that's it for primers. I keep it really simple. I think skincare is your best primer. I will talk about that in the next video, but let's get into foundation skin tints, starting with light coverage and moving into heavier coverage. I have to say my most used base product this year is also a longtime favorite. It's the Merit Minimalist Foundation Stick. Part of it is because this year has just been a minimalist year for me. I was going through a lot of fertility treatments, IVF, I wasn't feeling well, I just didn't have it in me to do a foundation routine if I was wearing any makeup at all. So this was kind of perfect if I just want to swipe something on or cover up the under eyes. I can use my fingers, you can use a brush. It just goes and melts into the skin and looks like skin. It's not a heavy coverage product. I would say it's buildable to a medium coverage, but it's not going to give you full coverage. It just looks real and it looks like skin, and especially on a no makeup day or a low makeup day where I don't want to try hard and I don't want it to look like I tried too hard, this is that product. The shade Oak actually came out in their shade extension maybe last year, and it's been a really good match for me, especially as I'm a little bit lighter now. My hand is lighter than my face, but it's a really great match for me. It's just been the thing that I reach for. Or sometimes I'll do a skin tint, which I'll talk about in a bit, and then I'll add coverage just in areas where I need it with the Merit stick. Again, this is not a new product, it's just one that I love and I've emptied several times. Then I have two skin tints. Let's start with this one because it's not new to the market, but it's newer to me. It's the Supergoop Protect Tint Daily SPF Tint with SPF 50 PA4 pluses. This is a blend, so it's a hybrid of chemical and mineral SPF, although it's very cosmetically elegant. You would really not know that there's mineral in there. I think there are 14 shades of this. I wear the shade 24N, and it's a perfect match for me right now. And this kind of surprised me because it's a little bit thicker in texture than the kinds of skin tints I usually like to go for. If you followed me for a while, you know I love the CL skin tint. That one is very fluid and runny, but this one actually is a little bit stiffer. But the reason why I love this is that it sets down to such a natural finish. And I feel like a lot of skin tints actually have quite a dewy finish on the skin. This one really looks like skin. It sets down and it's not matte, but it has almost like a grippy quality that really like helps it stick to the skin. That said, I do not use this as my only SPF. It's kind of a nice to have like additional SPF, but you would need to use a lot of this to get the sufficient SPF protection. So I don't rely on it for that. I just apply this over my regular sunscreen, but it is really beautiful. The finish is so nice. It's a little bit blurring and it's really surprised me. So that has been in rotation for me lately. And I would say this is like a light medium coverage. The Milk Makeup skin tint, this is their Hydro Grip gel tint, is slightly higher in coverage. I would say like buildable to a medium. I wear the shade 5 and it's a really great match for me right now. And it does come out as like a gel cream consistency and it's so spreadable on the skin. This is on the dewier side, I would say, but it just has the most beautiful, creamy, stunning finish on the skin. It makes your skin look so hydrated. And for me, it's honestly enough coverage that I don't really feel like I need to add that much more to the skin. And it is a really great option, I would say, for normal to dry skin, maybe even combo. I have combo skin. It looks great applied with a brush, with fingers, with a sponge. It just gives you the most even, creamy looking skin and I can't get enough. And since it's launched, I haven't put it down basically. And then finally, by way of like true foundations, I actually only have one that I've been reaching for a lot, and it's the New Makeup by Mario Surreal Skin Natural Finish Foundation, not their Luminous Finish. That's the original release. They just came out with this. I've done a review on it. It's what I'm wearing right now. I'm actually wearing the shade 3.5C because I'm at the lightest I've ever been. But this foundation is so good. It's a little bit fluid, a little bit runny. It's buildable to a medium, maybe medium full coverage if you wanted, but it's also very easy to sheer out. It's so flexible. It's very blurring. And when they say natural finish, they mean it's not matte, like it's not a powdery matte, but I feel like maybe my forehead is the best representation of it. I obviously am under lights here, but it just sets down to the most beautiful skin-like finish. It looks great applied with a brush. I also today applied it with a sponge for the first time and it gave me such a smooth quality to the skin. And the thing that I love about this is it also blurs over pores. It has a slightly blurring, diffusing quality to it that perfects the skin while still looking very natural. So even though I do have like a foundation on and it's a serious foundation, like this is going to last you all day long. It's going to set down. It's beautiful. It doesn't look heavy. It doesn't feel cakey, and the texture, because it's fluid, is so spreadable. I can do my whole face with just a half pump of this, or a little bit more if I'm using a sponge, but truly can't get enough. Really, really love it. Have reached for it a ton, and it looks so good on the skin. I also think because it's a little bit more of a natural finish than their original, this is something that's going to work for an age range that is very wide, whether you're very young or mature. And it's also going to work for oily, normal, combo, dry skin because it is so flexible, and you can do really good skin prep if you have drier skin. And I think this will still look good. It won't do any flaking or anything like that. So truly, they nailed this one in my opinion, and that's why it's the only true foundation on this list. For concealers, I have some concealers that are not new to me, but true to me. They're ones that I use all the time. If you have followed me for a while, you know I love the Danessa Myricks Yummy Skin Concealer. Their Yummy Skin range in general is so stunning, and I wear the shade 4. I haven't been wearing it as much just because the shade 4 is a little bit more golden than I am right now, but this concealer is so stretchy. It gives you really great coverage and you don't need a lot of product to go a long way. And that's what I look for in a concealer. I find, especially, I'm about to turn 35 next week. And as I'm in my mid-30s, I'm starting to get more fine lines, all of that stuff, totally normal. But I do have to be careful about not over applying concealer. So if you're walking that line of not wanting to apply too much product, but still wanting coverage, you want a high pigment concealer that's going to spread a long way. So this is is the shade number 4. I use it under the eyes. I use it around my face. It's beautiful. And then I am back on the Huda Beauty concealer. This is one that I fell in love with maybe 2 years ago. And then it just sort of like cycled out of my products, but it's back in my life. This one is a little bit thicker, little higher coverage, a little bit more of a glam concealer, or if you need that extra bit of coverage. I wear the shade 2.7N Coconut Flakes, and this one is good for me right now just because it's a little bit more neutral, and that is the shade right there. And even though I'm not a big color corrector person, lately I've been playing around with this a little bit more. It's the Huda Beauty color corrector in the shade Pink Pomelo, which is good if you have around my skin tone. And it's been really nice for if I have some extra dark circles. I am pregnant right now. Sleep is, you know, it's on and off. And so just like in the hollows of my eyes, like it's been nice to have a color corrector option if I do need it. But honestly, with all of these, whether I'm doing a low makeup day or a high makeup day, they're all very flexible and stretchy. And that's why I don't really have a low coverage concealer and a high coverage concealer. It's more about how you use them. And what I will say is that I actually like to apply concealer on the back of my hand. I like to take a concealer brush sort of like this one. This is the House Labs one, which is fantastic. I also love their concealer. It's just not in my current rotation right now. I pick it up off the back of my hand and then I pounce under the eyes and stipple. And that way I get really even coverage without over applying product. I don't take the wand directly to my eye. Now let's move on to powder. I have a loose powder and a pressed powder. This loose powder is a game changer for me right now. This is the Huda Beauty powder, but it's their new powder duo. So if you can see here, there are actually 2 compartments with 2 different shades, and the shades are Cherry Blossom and Peach Pie. There's also a deeper skin version of this with 2 deeper shades, and that one also has like a pinky one and a peachy one. And I did film a short on just how genius this is. So this is what the packaging looks like, and actually you can twist the cap so you get just one side of the powder if you want to use this to brighten, if you want to use this to color correct, or you can open it all the way to get both sides, or you can close it to seal it up if you're putting it away. Part of why I'm falling in love with this is I actually had not used the Huda powder before getting this duo. Even though I always meant to, it's just one of those things I never got around to, but it is a great dupe for the Givenchy loose powder that they reformulated. It's so finely milled. It's like buttery soft. You don't need a lot of powder to go a really long way. I'll just show you right now. I feel like I have a little bit of shine here. I really don't need a lot of powder to knock back the shine, but it still looks like skin and it still looks really natural without being overly mattified, but it does give you a long-lasting powder quality. So can't say enough good things about this one. For a pressed version, if you're into more of a pressed powder, Fenty extended their Invisimatte range, which was just their translucent mattifying powder, but they actually added tinted versions. So this is the pink one, which is really great for brightening. And if you have oily skin, this is a great powder for you. You can use it to set or to touch up. They also have a peachy version. I think there's a lavender version, and I've just been using this one especially like under the under eyes if I want a little bit more brightness. This is the cushion puff that comes with it. This one gives you really good oil control if you want to use it around the center of your face as well. And then for setting sprays, I have a longtime favorite, the Charlotte Tilbury setting spray. This is going to give you sort of locked in quality to your makeup while still being glowy. I also have been really liking the Kosas Cloud Set powder. This one, I don't think has alcohol in it, so it's not super long lasting as this, but I do really like this one for when I have powdered and I just want to add a little bit of life back to the skin. Sometimes I also layer these. I'll do a layer of this and I'll do a layer of this if I'm going for a glowy look or I just need to touch up throughout the day. One setting powder I do have my eye on is the new Danessa Myricks setting powder. That is supposed to be blurring and mattifying, and I'm really curious about that, especially for like my T-zone, the center of my face. So that's one I actually might pick up for myself. And then to close out the base section, I have a few foundation brushes that I really like. love. The Hourglass foundation brush is of course stunning. It's a densely packed brush that's at a diagonal. And then Makeup by Mario did come out with a foundation brush, or I don't know if it's new, but I got it with the foundation, their latest one. And this is the F1 brush. It's also at an angle and it's a little bit fluffier, not quite as dense as these two. So it gives you a little bit more flexibility. And then there's also a concealer brush at the end here. So those are my base brush recommendations. Moving on to cheeks, let's talk about blush. This is the first time that Rhode will be included in the Sephora sale. They just entered Sephora last month, as I'm sure you guys know. And I do think one of their standout products is their blushes. Their blush specifically called Piggy is my most worn and most complimented blush of all time. I pulled out 5 of my most used shades. These are a great universal cream blush. They don't set down. They do leave a dewiness on your cheeks, but they're just so easy to use, easy to blend out with fingers. I like to use it with a brush. Piggy, I think, is so underrated. I know people love Toasted Teddy, people love Freckle, but this shade, it looks like a bright pink, but it just gives you the most beautiful like kiss of youthful flush across your cheeks. It's what I'm wearing today. And I'm just wearing it really sheer today, but I also build it up on my skin a lot and I always get compliments on it. I have been with people multiple times where I'm wearing Piggy, especially in person, and they immediately go and buy the blush because they like how it looks. I like to apply this on the back of my hand or pick it up with a brush and then stipple. I don't always apply directly, but let me swatch my 5 most used blush shades for you. Okay, these are my most used Rhode blushes. Let's go, I'll just point them out. This is Piggy, what I'm wearing. This is Sleepy Girl. I know this one's really popular. It's more mauve-y and has a bit of a brown undertone to it. This is Freckle. This is definitely sort of a summer blush for me. It has a warmer undertone. Then we have Toasted Teddy, of course, a great bronzer shade, and the shade Date Cake, which is such a pretty jammy berry shade. Date Cake was limited edition, and I think it's really nice that they've brought their limited edition blushes into the permanent collection and have also brought them to Sephora. One that I don't have that I really want to get personally, I think is called Tan Line. So I really want Tan Line. I feel like it's something in between Sleepy Girl and Piggy. But again, these are blushes that I reach for over and over and over. And I was kind of slow to get on the Rhode train, but once I did, I basically like haven't put this blush down since. If I don't know what to wear, I reach for Rhode Piggy. That's my blush. These are a little bit more heavy duty. They last all day long. For something a little bit more sheer, dewy, balmy, I do love the Merit Flush Balm. This trio sells out every year. This is their Flush Balm trio, and it has 2 of their permanent collection shades, and it has 1 newer shade, and I will include the shorts here of where I try on each shade. I think it's such a beautiful collection of shades. There's a brighter pink, there's a more neutral shade, there's like a terracotta sort of shade. It's one that I think, because it has more pigment than some of their other shades, will work on different skin tones, and it's such a great giftable item if you know anyone that likes this formula or is curious to try the formula. And even though these are mini, I actually find that the minis last a really long time. So I just wanted to mention that because it's a popular product every year, and it also comes like in giftable form. You can like hang this from your tree like a little ornament. It comes with a little hanging tab, and I just think this packaging is always so cute. Now there are some newer blush formulas. No cream blushes have dominated the market for a really long time, but there are some like hybrid and powder formulas coming out that I think are really good and work for a lot of different skin types. These are the Glossier Cloud Paint Plush Blush. First of all, I love this little like colorful brick packaging. The packaging does match the shade of the blush, and these are the 2 that I've been reaching for the most. This is the shade called Gale, and it's a beautiful like desaturated peachy kind of shade. It's a great like no makeup sort of blush. It's a little bit tan on the skin, like beigey. So if you have a bold eye look or something and you want blush but you don't want it to overtake your cheeks or your look, it's perfect for that. And then this one I know is scary. However, if you like a cool toned pink, that's what this looks like on the skin. This is a shade called Billow. It just creates the most beautiful, like fresh kiss of color across the cheeks. And these are actually a creme powder hybrid. They're a lot like the Rare Beauty blushes, the blush balm formula. So you can tell because it's like a creme to powder sort of thing. And you can also tell that they're matte. So these don't have any glow. There's no pearl, there's no glitter or anything like that. But it just creates the most beautiful, blurred, diffused, airbrushed look on the skin. That's the shade Gale. Again, I know it looks scary, but trust me, when it's on your cheeks, it just transforms and does a little bit of something. And then Ciel, you guys know I love their liquid blush. Their pink shade I use all the time. I've actually emptied that product, but this is a little bit newer. This is their powder blush formula. It's called the Flush and Protect, and it is a modern powder blush, I would say. They don't have any glitter or anything in the formula, but when you apply them and buff them into the skin, there's a little bit of like a pearliness that comes through. Not anything like a highlighter or anything like that. There's no glitter, but it just looks like it reflects light on the skin. These two are the ones I've been reaching for a lot. I like the shade Chill for a pink cheek, but I also really like Cozy. Again, can you tell I have a type? Cozy is also kind of a desaturated brownie like beige blush, and then Chill is a pinky tone blush. That is Cozy and that is Chill. Kind of similar to these. These have that slight pearliness. These are a little bit more matte as they set down. But again, these are really beautiful, sophisticated formulas, and you really can't go wrong with them. The thing about a cream blush is that sometimes you have to figure out the application method. These are so buildable, and if you have oily skin or visible pores, they really blur over the cheek area. So had to mention these just because I do think hybrid blush formulas, powder blush formulas are really on the rise, and we're gonna see more of them in 2026. Moving on to bronzers, I have two bronzers that I just love, I can't put down, and they're basically all I've reached for this year. I do have a powder that I'll talk about in a second. This is the Makeup by Mario Soft Sculpt Shaping Serum. You can see mine is nearly empty. I think I may need to get a new one. This is a bronzing serum that just adds the most beautiful kiss of warmth. It's what I'm wearing today, and you can see my bottle's absolutely filthy because I use it all the time. There's a little bit of pearl in the formula. Again, it doesn't look like a highlighter. It doesn't look glowy on the skin because it is such a sheer product. This is what I reach for when I don't want a super bronze look, but I just want a kiss of warmth and dimension. I wear the shade Light. I also have light medium. I also have medium, just depending on the time of year. But you can see it's like, compared to my neck, for example, it just adds a little bit of dimension, a little bit of sculpting. That's why I like this shade, because it's so neutral without being obvious on the skin. And it just, again, it's like angel skin. If I want a little bit more pigment, then I reach for the Westman Atelier Bronzing Drops. This is the shade 1. I also have the shade 2 that I wear in the summer when it's a little bit, that one's a little bit more golden. This one's a little bit more neutral in undertone. This is very fluid. So I take a drop on the back of my hand, and then I'll take a brush, and then I'll stipple it on. And the thing I've been loving about liquid bronzers is that you cannot tell where the bronzer begins and ends, especially if you're doing it as you're doing your foundation, doing a really good job of blending. You only need a drop or two to give you a really naturally sculpted dimensional look. It almost looks like real skin because it takes on that fluid quality of a foundation. And if you do them together in the same step, they just mesh and melt into one without giving you that patchy look that powder bronzers can sometimes have, or even cream bronzers. So the liquid bronzers have really been my favorites this year. However, there is a powder standout. The Farah Homidi bronzer is a very bougie bronzer. However, it is really, really beautiful. I have the shade Lumen, which is the second deepest shade. I think there are 4 shades of this, 4 shades of this, and 5 or 6 shades of the Makeup by Mario. If you can't tell lately, I like a bronzer with a little bit of pearl in it. I just like the dimension it gives my skin. This one I've reviewed, I've done a dedicated review of. It's so beautiful. It has the slightest bit of pearl running through it. It's mostly matte, but on the skin, it doesn't look like a flat matte. It gives you a dimension dimensional quality. It's a very creamy powder. It's not dry. It's not gonna make you look dusty. It just brings life to the skin. And I wore this a ton in the summer. And because it is creamy, it's the kind of bronzer that is really easy to blend out to give you that dimensional look that doesn't just get like stuck in one patch. This will never be patchy on you, and it's just absolutely stunning. I have been loving Faraho Meaty makeup. I know it's bougie, it's an investment, it's luxurious, but it really performs so beautifully. The packaging is stunning, would make a great gift. And then for highlighters, I just have two. One of them is not even technically really a highlighter. It's the Charlotte Tilbury Unreal Skin Sheer Glow Tint Hydrating Foundation Stick. Longest name ever. However, it is a pearly, creamy foundation stick that somehow like gives you coverage while also being pearly and stunning and beautiful. I kind of like that combo. Like I really like a skin tint with this added on top of the cheekbones, because for me, it's a little bit too shiny to wear everywhere. But when I add it onto the cheeks and sort of melt it into the skin, it gives you the most beautiful, like glossy, angelic sheen. That's the kind of highlighter I like. And it is creamy and blendable and buildable as well. So I really like that. And I also like the Ciel Glow and Protect. This is in the shade Piper. It's almost like a rose gold, not even rose gold, like a rosy champagne, but it has a very neutral undertone. And this, a lot like the Charlotte Tilbury, is very creamy and beautiful. And when you blend it out, it's not too shiny, but it definitely gives you a gleam. And it's a creamy, beautiful, stunning gleam. No Tin Man. I will say, Piper is a little bit more neutral. The Charlotte Tilbury I have in the shade Too Fair, it's a little bit peachier. So they have different undertones. You can see Piper is a little bit pinkier here, but I use them interchangeably and I think they're both so stunning on the skin and really undetectable while giving you that glossy look. My cheek brush recommendation is another Makeup by Mario. I know that dual-ended brushes can be polarizing. However, this one is so good that I reach for it over and over. And this one is their cheek brush. They're both angled. This one is a little bit bigger and this side is a little bit smaller. This is actually great for the entire face. It's great for foundation. You can use the smaller edge under your eyes for concealer. I use the bigger side for my liquid bronzer to paint it on, as well as for blush, or you can use this for highlighter. It's just a beautiful do-it-all kind of brush that I love for any cream or liquid products. Moving into eyes, let's talk about eyeshadow, because suddenly my life is dominated by singles, like one and done gorgeous eyeshadows, whether they're matte or satin or more glittery. There's just a lot happening in the eyeshadow world. Starting with the mattes, the Makeup by Mario Master Mattes Longwear Cream Shadows are really impressing me. I actually have these two down as a kind of base. I did mauve, just sort of in my crease to create a little bit of contour and sculpting. And then I did a dot of espresso to deepen up the outer corner. And then I layered something else on top, which I'll talk about in a second. These I was really skeptical about because I think it's really difficult to do this kind of formula really, really well. So you get a doe foot applicator and they start out as this kind of whipped consistency, but they are not patchy at all. They blend like an absolute dream. And then they set down and they don't go anywhere. And I feel like this formula is really difficult to do because of the silicones in here. I think they can get a little bit clumpy or patchy or chalky, but they're not that way at all. They're just so elegantly formulated. That is espresso blended out. I'll show you my other shade that I've been using a lot. This is the shade Chestnut if you like something a little bit more of a camely brown. But these are a great one and done eyeshadow if you just want a single wash of color. That is Chestnut. Like, do you see how even and diffused and blurred and blended out these are? It's such a gorgeous formula and it takes no time at all to blend out. If you want to use your finger, that's great, like I did here, or you can use a brush and it gives you time to work, but they truly do not budge. And you don't see any of the fine lines like on the back of my hand peeking through. So blurring, so flattering on the eyes. A step up from that and moving into like a pearlier, creamier formula is the new Merit Solo Shadow Sheen. This is the pearly version of their Solo Shadow Matte. However, However, the formula, in my opinion, is totally different. This one is firmly pressed in the pan, but it's creamy, it's pearly, it gives you a stunning wash of color over the eye that looks a little bit more satin if you just do one layer with a brush, or if you really build it up with a finger to get that pigmentation. There's a gorgeous, really soft, sophisticated pearliness. It almost looks like satin or silk across the eyes. The shades Glacé, this champagne-y shade, and the shade Iris are my two favorites. Iris is a beautiful, like mauve-y, taupey, kind of smoky sort of shade, and it's just so dimensional. All of these shades are very dimensional and kind of look like you're wearing more than one shadow across the eyes, because as you blend it out, it shears out, but you still get that reflect if you're looking for it and if you build it up. I'm not going to swatch all of these for you because I have swatches in my application videos that I'm including here. So hopefully you can get an idea of the shades, but they're all so beautiful, like stunning one and done shades. I've also been getting a lot of questions about whether these dry out, because I know for some people the matte formulas did dry out. It's actually a really different packaging. So the matte formulas used to have like a stopper where it would click in place. These don't have that, but it actually allows you to tighten the lid a little bit better. So I'm hopeful that because of that, and because these are creamier, they will have a longer life. Then moving into a little bit more glitz and glam, I have the Tower 28 Go-Go Cooling eyeshadow sticks. These are kind of like a gel eyeshadow stick that you twist up. You can apply directly onto the eye. My favorite shade is Viper. I'll show you the application here. These actually really surprised me because of how budge proof and long wearing they are. And I think there's some new technology or new lab that is putting out these eyeshadow sticks that are so long wearing, but they give you a glossy, wet looking shine across the eyes, but they don't move. They last all day. And there are so many shades of this. I think there's like 8 or 9 shades, and they're all really beautiful. There are some that you can sheer out for more of a glossy look. There's some that you can build up for more pigment and punch. One thing I will say is you want to keep the plastic cap on this. That's going to prevent it from drying out, because it is like a jelly stick formula. And I know people asked me like, what is cooling about these? There's no menthol in here. It's really just the gel quality that feels like wet and cooling as you apply it. It gives you time to blend it out and then it sets down. So that's what they mean by cooling, but it's not really something you think about very much. Similar to those, but with even more impact, is what I'm wearing on my eyes today, and it's the Danessa Myricks Color Fix Sticks. These are so cool, and it's so iconic Danessa Myricks because they're just so smart in their design. So each stick comes with 2 shades. I think there are like 10 shades of this, and you get a foil and a metallic. So there are 2 formulas. This thing right here is magnetic, so you can actually travel or interchange different shades. If you get multiples of them, you can just throw it in your bag. And the foils, it's what I'm wearing on my eyes today. I put the metallic down, and I have the 2 shades Celeste and Nova, although I'm thinking I might need more. So I applied Celeste over the matte base, the Makeup by Mario, and then I blended that out. And then over that, I applied the foils. And the foils are so impactful. It's like truly glitter just melts onto your lid. And when you apply it directly onto the skin, it's like an opaque layer of foiled, glittery, metallic goodness. Like nothing else I've seen really looks like this or has this specific finish. I think the metallics are subtle enough that you could blend it out for everyday wear. The foils are definitely like boom, glam in your face, but you can definitely sheer them out like I did here. I sort of layered them on top of each other to create this beautiful like grungy, smoky sort of look. And these are just so cool. I definitely want and need more in my collection. And then for the last of my eyeshadow singles, this is the Patrick Ta Duo. They recently extended their shade range and came out with my dream shade. This is called Always on Your Mind. And if you're not familiar with these, they're a micro glitter, like a twinkly micro glitter that looks like fairy dust on the eyes. They create a very scattered, like glossy twinkly look. It's a pressed powder. It's not a cream, but they look wet on the eyes because of how reflective they are. I love this color story because I love the grungy taupiness of this. And this one is like a neutral taupey glitter, like a lighter shade. I also have used and loved the We Need Better Lighting duo. If I'm honest, I use this one all the time because it looks white in the pan, but it's like the most stunning white silver sparkle across the eyes. And again, it just like adds that glossy look. Personally, I like to apply these with a finger versus a brush. I feel like you get less fallout that way, and I like to use it over a sticky eyeshadow base or over some concealer. But there are so many shades in this formula now. It is kind of pricey, but it's the kind of thing that feels similar to Pat McGrath's special shades. You get that really textured, beautiful, expensive looking sheen. It doesn't look cheap or tacky. It just looks glossy across the eyes. And for me, if I want a little something special, this is the kind of thing that I'm going to reach for. And I just love, love, love this new shade. Finally, I only have one eyeshadow palette because I haven't been a big palette person lately. I kind of just like a matte brown shadow. And then if I'm going for a one and done look, I'll reach for something like that. Except I did get the new Makeup by Mario Ethereal Eyes Nature palette. I missed out on their very first Ethereal Eyes palette, and I felt like this was kind of similar to that. If you're not familiar with this formula, it's on the drier side, but I find that the mattes blend out so easily that way, and they're very beginner friendly for that reason. And then the shimmers are really twinkly and sophisticated with really fine micro shimmers that, again, don't look chunky on the eyes. They're really flattering. And I feel like this color story is going to look good for so many different skin tones. You get the mid-tone mattes, but you also get the depth, and I love the pop of green. The eye look that I did when I filmed with this was with the green all over the eye, and it's just so dimensional and stunning. For me, if I'm going to get an eyeshadow palette, I want it to be something that I'm going to get a lot of use out of, and I feel like this is something that I'm going to reach for year round. And then moving on to eyeliner, mascara, all of that stuff. If I'm honest, I haven't been wearing a ton of eyeliner lately, but I have been reaching for these. It's more Makeup by Mario. I think it's just been a big year for them and a big year for me with them. I've just been reaching for these a ton. So these are the Master Pigment Pro Pencil. They have a shade called Bronze, which has a beautiful like bronzy golden undertone. And bronze it's not too yellow, it's not too golden. That's kind of why I like that. And then they also have a shade called Perfect Brown. And I do agree that it is a perfect brown because it has this gorgeous like hot cocoa quality to it. It's really deep and it's not too warm. It's almost like a cool toned brown. I never wear black eyeliner. When I reach for eyeliner, I want it to be like a deep brown. And these are super, super creamy. It's a gel eyeliner. So you can create a smoked out wing. You can get really great definition, or you can blend them out more. And also the pencils come with these brushes on the tip. And normally I don't like the brush on the tip of a pencil, but I feel like this one actually works really well to blend out the eyeliner, which is rare. So just wanted to mention these. There are other shades, but these are the two I've been reaching for. For mascara, if I'm being totally honest, I have my Shiseido Lash Curler as always. If you have a similar eye shape to me, you know this is the best of the best. I've had mine forever. I've been wearing a lot of my Asian beauty mascaras, so I haven't reached for a ton of Sephora ones, but I have been reaching for this one. This is the Lancome Flutter Extension. And this is an extension of their Lash Idol, but it's a totally different wand shape. If you have small eyes or lashes, this is fantastic because it's kind of that like molded bristle, and it's going to capture every single one of your little baby lashes, and it does create a really fluttery, lifted kind of look. And I like that the formula itself is not too wet, so it doesn't drag my lash down. I have very sparse lashes, and this one doesn't weigh it down. Like sometimes if it's too wet and then I apply the mascara, the curl just goes away. This doesn't do that. It's a drier formula. It does give you that like fluttery, fanned out sort of look. For brows, I've been so boring about my brows brows lately. I'm just not feeling like a really sculpted, intense brow. So I'm still reaching for my Lawless Soft Set Creamy Brow Wax. I like it because it's dry and it's a tint. It's buildable. It has a little bit of hold, but it's not too much of anything. And the shade Medium Dark is a really great neutral shade. It's the only thing I have in my brows right now. And most days lately, this is the only thing that's in my brows. But if I want a pencil, the Glossier Boy Brow Arch has been really great because it's a tiny, tiny micro pencil. It's a little bit flat. So it's really good at creating those little fine hair-like strokes. And I have the shade Cool Brown. It's a really great match for me. Not too deep, not too warm. And when I do want a little bit more definition or to fill things in, that's when I've been reaching for this. Moving on to lips. There are so many lip products, so many lip categories. Let's start with lip liners and the most kind of conventional lip liner, which is a traditional wooden lip liner. These are the Farah Homidi lip liners. They are kind of expensive, but they're so good, so long lasting, and they're basically what I reach for when I have a long wear lip day. I'm wearing the shade Fawn right now as my lip liner. It's a beautiful cool tone shade, and I love this because it sets down and it lasts all day long. It's a traditional wooden pencil. Fawn is a really great like lip contour, cool toned sculpting shade, but you can also sort of blur it out the way I did with this lip. I also have been reaching for the shade Minky a lot, and Minky is like the warm toned counterpart to this shade, so that's fun. That's Minky. Minky is great for when I want more of like a peachy lip or a warmer lip look overall, and these are gonna last you a really long time. Now, there are so many alternative lip liner formulas that have come out. We have blurring lip liners, we have lip liner stains, we have sheer lip liners, and I kind of like them all, but I do have specific ones that I love. The Huda Beauty lip contour stain came out earlier this year, and I have been reaching for these nonstop. And you'd think it's kind of a full glam sort of product, but it's really not. I actually reach for the shade Baby Pink almost all the time. Even if I have no makeup on, it just adds a little bit of a stain to my lips where I don't have to think about it. I do this in a tinted balm. I feel good about myself even if I'm like not wearing real makeup. So this is Baby Pink. These are a flat edge felt tip pen. I'll show you the application of all of the shades here. And it's really great for creating your lip line or overlining, or it's also great for filling in the lips. So sometimes I fill in my lips with this and then I overline with one of these. This is Rosewood and this is the shade Soft Nude. It really is like a felt tip pen. It's going to last all day. It's a really great base for just a tinted lip balm or something with more pigment. But because this already has so much pigment, I really like this with something sheer, balmy, tinted, easy to throw on. And that's actually why I've been reaching for them a ton. The one thing I would say is that you should store these upside down, so the pen side down in a little cup, just to give you, just to make sure that the ink is really flowing each time you wear it. Then for the actual opposite of that, the Merit Sheer lip liners came out this year. This is the tinted lip balm of lip liners. They are sheer, they're balmy. It's almost like a tinted lip balm in stick form, but they're so pretty on the lips, either on their own or as a base for something else. And I really love the shades. And as someone who likes natural makeup, I really love the subtlety of these. I'll also show you my video with all of the shades here. The two shades I reach for the most are Beverly Hills and Bespoke. And I like these because you can overline the lips without it looking too obvious. Sometimes if you overline with something really opaque, it just looks too obvious. This is the sheer lip liner. That's Beverly Hills. It's pinky. And then Bespoke is a cooler toned lip sculpting shade. It's just so pretty. There's nothing else that creates this exact look. It's not the longest lasting, but it's easy to reapply. And it's a really great base for if you want that like blurred lip line. It's just beautiful for that. While I'm mentioning this, there's a Merit lip kit called the Archival lip kit that also comes with a new shade of this called Archival. It's another like cool toned pinky brown shade. It comes with this, a full size of their shade Slick Lip sheen, and then also a full size of their lip blush, which I'll talk about in a bit, but I just want to mention it while I'm here because it's a set that actually does have a new shade of these. And then the final lip liner category or product is the Rhode Peptide Lip Shapes. They call it a lip contour. To me, it's kind of like a lip pencil, but the shape of it is really nice. Like, it's not too thick, and you can create a really nice blurred lip line with these. They also have that blurred diffused lip quality. This is the shade Lift, which I use a lot. This is the one that was in my makeup bag, but I do have a video with all of the shades, swatching all of them and trying them on. I think they have a really nice range of browns and pinks and cool tone shades and warm tone shades. This is the shade Balance. Balance is a really good lip sculpting shade. And I like these because, again, you can overline the lips or create that really blurred, diffused lip look, and they're really forgiving. They're creamy, so they give you time to kind of blur out. I find a finger works best to blur them out. And then they do set down, and they're not like the longest wearing, but they last a good amount of time, and they're also really easy to touch up. And you can also fill in your whole lip with this and then add a lip balm on top. Then moving on to tinted lip balms and other lip products. The Rhode Peptide tints are also included in the sale for the first time. And I won't lie, when these first came out, I was like, okay, it's like a liquid lip balm. But then I emptied like 5 or 6 of them, and I really love them. I love the original just for an actual lip balm. I do find them to be hydrating and moisturizing, and they have a grippier finish that I find actually lasts on the lips over time. I don't like when a lip balm just slides around on my lips. These are my 2 favorite tinted shades, Ribbon and Toast. I'll swatch them for you. I like these so much that I have multiples of them in like every handbag. Ribbon is just a really nice pink, and then Toast is a little bit warmer, a little bit browner, but these go great with any lip liner, including their peptide lip shapes. They pair really nicely. They look good over any other lip liner. The Huda Beauty lip stain I pair with these often, and these are just things I can throw on and go with every makeup look in general. No makeup, they don't look too obvious without makeup on, and so I do reach for these a ton among the products of this kind of format. Another tinted lip balm that I really like are the Idem Le Chou Chou lip balms. These are their limited edition shades that just came out for holiday. The one I've really been liking is Pain au Chocolat, and this is stunning. So these have like a cooling metal tip. It's almost like a mahogany brown, and these have much more pigment than the Rhode ones. You can see these are richer. They definitely give you more of a lip tint. These are also kind of thick and grippy and last a long time on the lips. I also like, in their permanent range, I really love the Fig one for like a wine stained berry kind of lip. They're all really, really stunning, and I love the shade Curation. For a step up from that, these are new. These are the Mango People Hydrating Glossy Lip Stains. These feel very much like a K-beauty product to me, but they have the pigment that we look for in Western beauty, and there are 4 shades. These are my 2 favorite shades. This one is the shade Pink Bangle. Let me find some room to swatch it. These are full pigment, okay? So when you swatch it, it has a glossy look, but then as it wears throughout the day, it sets down as the gloss sort of wears off to a stain on the lips, and it's really, really pretty. It's a beautiful like statement lip kind of moment, or you can just apply a little bit and sheer it out if you want a less pigmented look. And then this is the shade Beet Juice. I don't really think there's an equivalent product like this in Sephora, and they're on the newer side. Mango People is a smaller brand, but I really, really love what they do. And I think this formula is pretty innovative. It's reminiscent of K-beauty, but it just has such gorgeous color impact. So I wanted to mention those. Actually, I just wiped off the swatches, and you can see how they did stain my hand, and then the Huda stain is there as well a little bit. And then finishing off with lipsticks, lately I don't wear a lot of full pigment lipsticks, but if I am going to reach for a lipstick, I am usually reaching for this. These are my Prada lipsticks. I've talked about them a ton, but they just create the most beautiful, long-lasting blurred lip. They're comfortable on the lips. They're a soft matte formula. There's really nothing else like this formula in my collection, and these shades are just divine. What I'm wearing today is P158. It's so cool because they start out with sheer pigment, but then you can build them up, and this is the most beautiful, like, cool toned 60s pop kind of lip. Then for a step up, I love B101. This one has a little bit more pigment, a little bit more pink in it, and it creates a really beautiful, like blushy toned lip. And then this one's really fun. This is P155. I love this one this one is like a very 60s kind of look, like a pinky coral pink look. But all of these look so good, kind of blurred out and blended out. You don't need a lot of product to create this beautiful diffused modern matte lip look, and it's just what I reach for. The only similar thing I can think of is the Merit Signature Lip Blush formula, but they don't have these as their own products yet. They always come in their kits. This is the one that's in the archival lip kit that I mentioned, and it's the closest thing I can think of to this Prada formula. And this one actually is a little bit different because it starts out a little bit more sheer, but it's buildable to a very similar finish, and this is the shade Archival that comes in their lip set, and it also creates this beautiful blurred modern matte lip look. But I find that this is a finish that's difficult to do well. A lot of times they get patchy or they sink into lip lines. These never do that, and so while these are very luxurious, to me, they're worth the price point because they're absolutely stunning, and there's nothing else that does what this does. If there are any lipstick lovers in your life, I think the Prada lipsticks make a gorgeous gift, as do the Guerlain lipsticks. These are now at Sephora, and if you've never seen these, they are beautiful, like artisanal lipstick cases that are refillable. I actually have a few different ones here. They have this gorgeous, like old school vintage kind of look. They have the Guerlain imprint, and you can mix and match the shades and the cases. So this one is actually my favorite. I love this tortoise shell kind of look. And actually when you open these, there's a mirror inside. Mine has my name engraved in it. That was a custom thing. But then you can use this to apply the lipstick, and the lipsticks themselves are also stunning. It just has this feel of old school glam. They don't really make like beautiful refillable makeup cases like this anymore. You see them like in vintage stores, like in the 20th century that they used to make. They don't make these anymore, but Guerlain does, and I think it's such a beautiful gift idea. I also really love this shade. I'll put the name in the description box. This one is a cream finish lipstick, but it's such a beautiful warm rose. It has like a touch of red in it, almost like a touch of coral that comes through, but it's like a bright medium tone pink. It's so stunning. These do have the old school Guerlain scent, but it's just such a beautiful package, such a beautiful gift that feels kind of bespoke. And because you can customize them, it has an even more special feel. This is my red leather, like sort of snakeskin sort of look. And this shade is 5A01 518. Again, shades will be in the description box, but that's sort of a more baby pink. And then this is the gold case and the mirror like that. I love this one. This one is called shade 11. I love this one. It's more of like a brown toned brownie nude, brownie pink. So beautiful if you're looking for a gift idea for a makeup lover. I can't recommend these enough. So that brings us to the end of this very, very long video. I'm sure there are things that I wanted to mention that I just didn't get to today, but if you have any questions for me, if you're looking for any specific recommendation, or if there's something I didn't cover about anything mentioned here, let me know in the comments. I'd love to meet you there. Of course, I hope you shop responsibly. I hope that you do love the things that you get. And if you made it through the whole video, then thank you so much for watching. And don't forget to stay tuned for my skincare, hair care, body, and fragrance video, which is coming next. I think the day after this one goes live. Yeah, happy shopping. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.